Stay tuned and let's check out this Marvel Legends Zabu wave, Wolfsbane. Pow, and welcome back to the channel, Dan Who Reviews. As always, my name is Dan W. Make sure you are following me on Instagram at It's Dan Who. And remember now you can hit that join button and become a channel member as well. Either show some love or join the members club. Much appreciated. Today we continue looking at the Marvel Legends Zabu Build-A-Figure wave. As in front of me today, we have Wolfsbane, the last piece we need to sort of complete that second incarnation of the X Factor team amongst our Marvel Legends collection. But there has technically been a previous way to add Wolfsbane. It is, if you think back to that Danny Moonstar Walgreens exclusive from a good few years back, she had a few interchangeable parts to create Karma or Wolfsbane, but it was sort of basically just an interchangeable head and hands on that modern New Mutants body. My mind's eye for Wolfsbane will always be this version where she's sort of wearing that one piece with her hairy legs and arms out. So if you're a fan of hairy women, this one's for you. You're very old school. But there she is in the packaging with some interchangeable hands, the biggest Build-A-Figure piece for the Zabu Build-A-Figure, that big body. A picture of her on the side, that same image on the back of the box. We get a write-up that says, a member of the New Mutants, Wolfsbane trains with Professor X to master her powers of lycanthropy. And as always, you get a list of all the figures in this wave you need to complete the Zabu Build-A-Figure. Today we're reviewing Wolfsbane. So without further ado, let's get her open. Here we have Rain Sinclair, aka Wolfsbane, our Scottish, very religious friend in Marvel Legends form. Now, she, of course, comes with the biggest Build-A-Figure piece for the Zabu Build-A-Figure. So you know what to do. Subscribe to the channel and come back, as once we've looked at all the figures in this wave, we will, of course, build and review Zabu. But today we're focusing on another hairy character with Wolfsbane. She comes with a set of interchangeable hands we'll look at later. But I am happy to see a lot more new on this figure than I originally thought, as she is completely sculpted with that hair and a very nice texture, and she's completely pinless from her feet all the way up to her head. There are a few reused parts. This top part is from Perales, and then she's reusing the same feet and hands from Tigra, but the rest of her body is completely new and definitely more my mind's eye. The best Wolfsbane in Marvel Legends, if I don't say so myself, but she doesn't have a lot of competition, as that is her competition. Basically an interchangeable head and hands that came with Danny Moonstar. If I get the tape measure out, you can see she stands to the top of her hair at probably about just under 6.5 inches tall. But I'm sure you will all agree with me that this version of Wolfsbane is a lot better than this one. I will compare those head sculpts in a minute. At first I did think she's a little bit too orange, but after looking at comic panels, I do think she's sort of a happy medium between the two, even though I would prefer her to be a little bit darker in shade. But she is that sort of blend between her forms. She can go full human, full wolf, or this sort of middle form where she has the best of both worlds, and she sort of embraced that form during this era. So yeah, I do really like the look of this. Head sculpt's nice. Let's take a closer look. Now, I would say that she's had a bad hair day, but considering she's a girl that can turn herself into a literal wolf, I will let her off with a Wolverine inspired haircut, as Wolverine did train her after all. Now, as I said, she's a little bit too orange for me. I would prefer it to be a little bit darker, but they have put a nice wash in that hair sculpt, so it does create a lot of shades and shadows. So on the face, she's got the gritted teeth expression, that sort of snarling look, a lot of darkness around the eyes as well, and those raised eyebrows. You've got the long sideburns, and then you get those wolf ears sticking out on either side. And as I said, it is a nice sculpted hair with a nice black wash throughout it, so you can see the sculpted lines. As I said, this is a sort of blend in between. It would have been nice to see that wash continue throughout the rest of the body, rather than it just being the straight up sort of orange plastic, as that would have made a difference. I do think if the rest of the body had the same wash as this hair, I wouldn't have been so concerned of the orange plastic. So it could be another Tiger situation for people in the community, but you can make your own mind up, of course. I don't mind this at all. I do think the head sculpt is really nice. And if we compare it to the previous version that came with Danny Moonstar, you can see it is a big upgrade with the digital face printing tech. And that previous hair was more sort of reddish than it was brown anyway. So yeah, there's just more personality, if you will, in this new head compared to the previous one. And I could swap the heads, but then the body would be the wrong colour. So I'll show you anyway. There you go. I told you it wouldn't work, but at least now you can see for yourself. The colours are just all wrong. I guess the new head could work on this new body if you swap out the hands as well, as she's got most of her body covered, but the hair orange is just not matching the old brown. And anyway, the head sculpt's just not as nice as the new one, so it's so unnecessary. So now that's out the way, let's take a closer look at Wolfsbane, because I do think they've done a great job here. First things first, you've got the X Factor uniform. Now I hope those yellows and blues match the previous legends. We will check shortly, but it is nice all the same, very accurate, with some details for the belt buckles, the zip, and then you've got the red X up top, same colours on the back. Now all of her hairy limbs are exposed, and that hair is sculpted onto the figure, which is a nice detail. So from the top of the shoulder all the way down the double jointed elbows to the hands, you've got that sculpted hair detail with some nice range to match. So the elbows are double jointed, but the shoulders go up to 90. You've got the bicep swivel, and then, as I said, a deep double jointed pinless elbow. Now the head itself is also on a disking hinge, so you can bury the chin no problem at all, but you can also get the head all the way back up, and then utilizing the articulation on her hands as well, you can get her into those really great grabby, jumpy, wolf-like poses, which I think people will appreciate. So yeah, I like the range up top. The only downfall with the range is obviously they've went for the aesthetic touch with the uniform, so you get more back than you do forward with the ab crunch. So that's the only unfortunate thing. It's more of a swivel on the ball joint up top there rather than a crunch, but you do get a little bit back, not so much forward. Now moving down to the legs, you've got the thigh cut hidden in the design, but once again you've got the sculpted detail of the hair or the fur from the thigh all the way down to a feline feet, which again, double jointed pinless knees as well, which is a nice touch. Now you will notice on the back of the calves there is a little bit of colour. Now they have added some sort of dry brush or a wash to that sculpt, and you can see it makes it a little bit darker. It actually makes it more in tune with what we get in the hair as well, with the wash that you get in the hair. It actually brings out some of the sculpted detail really nicely, but for whatever reason we only get it on the calves and then on those little tufts of hair that come off on the forearms. If they had continued that same colour throughout the rest of the figure, I do think it would have been a lot more accurate to the source material, but for whatever reason we only get it on the calves and the cuff. So they knew that made a difference. They knew that detail looked good, but for whatever reason they couldn't add it to the rest of the figure. But yeah, if that little bit of brown wash or dry brush and whatever it is was applied to the rest of the figure, she would have been a little bit darker. That sculpted detail would have stood out a little bit more, and overall would have looked a lot better. But she still looks good. Legs go forward, as I said, double jointed, pinless knees, thigh cut, ankle pivot rocker. You're going to get some great range out of this one, no problem at all. She looks good. First comparison, here we have Wolfsbane next to Tigra. Not just to compare the colours, which you can clearly see, but the first time we got Tigra was on that Avengers retro card. It was actually this more orange version, and when that figure came out we all thought there was potential for other furrier women within the Marvel Universe. It turns out though we just got another Tigra, which was this version with the slightly different orange and the upgraded head that came in the West Coast Avengers Amazon box set. We actually now have a better base body with Wolfsbane for those other furrier women in the Marvel Universe. You know where I'm going with this. Let's complete X-Force and add Feral to our lineup, and also add Hepzibah to our Starjammers team. I do think reusing the arms and legs from this Wolfsbane would be absolutely fair game with those two other characters, but time will tell. Just to further prove my point, here we have a comparison of the Tigra arms next to Wolfsbane's arms, and you can see that she has the much more sculpted furrier arms. The same thing on the legs as well, no reuse. Furrier sculpted legs with Wolfsbane compared to Tigra. The only two things that these two actually share are the hands and those feline feet. Everything else is different. And I nearly forgot, but her only accessories are of course a set of interchangeable fisted hands, so you can have some neutral poses or just get Wolfsbane to punch someone in the face. And look at all the figures I just took off my shelf for this single shot. Honestly, people, if you want a nice display, do not become a YouTuber. But this is what people wanted to see. It's what I wanted to see. It is, of course, that second incarnation of the X Factor team now complete with the matching uniforms. Now, there are a few discrepancies. You could argue that maybe multiple man's jacket should be green. I guess you could add Val Cooper to this team. However, she was more of their liaison with the government. She does have a uniform though, but she never really went out on the field. I know Forge replaced her at some point as well. But I think for my mind's eye, it always goes based off the source material. And in the 90s, I remember this team being on like comic covers or even on trading cards, and that is how I will remember this team. With all of these members, we've got Quicksilver in the blue, which is accurate. You've got Strong Guy, you've got Polaris and Havoc. I've got a couple of multiple men, which are really hard to get now, and now that missing piece is Wolfsbane in that matching uniform. So I'm very happy with this lineup, and I do think they all match with the uniforms very nicely. The yellows and blues are on point, and if the rumors are true and we're going to get another Quicksilver later this year, I'm going to assume he's in the green, and I'll add that one to my Evil Brotherhood of Mutants, and I will keep this one exactly where he is. But you let me know, do you have all of these figures in your collection? Do you pose them together as a team on the shelf? I think that is the only way when they look this good. But I wouldn't be mad at a Val Cooper in the X Factor uniform, that's for sure. But for now, this team is complete. Just a closer isolated look at Havoc and Polaris next to Wolfsbane. As I mentioned, these two are sharing the same upper torso part, but Wolfsbane definitely has more detail on hers. That deco is actually nicer for the X logo, and she's also got the zip painted in chrome where Polaris didn't. If I remember correctly as well, these two had a bit of a love triangle going on maybe. I think she was under a spell. I can't quite remember, but these look great together. And before I forget, here we have Cable, the other figure in this Zabu Build-A-Figure wave I have already reviewed on the channel, and during that review people were writing in the comments saying they wanted to see this head on the Strife body, and pow, there you go, you asked nicely, then I can deliver. There we have the new Cable head on the Strife body. Now it's a snug fit, but it does pop on the peg, and there you go, it looks good. You let me know what you think in the comments below. Now, if you were listening, I mentioned earlier that Wolverine did in fact train Wolfsbane while she was a student at the mansion, and here we have a couple of Wolverines just so you can see how she looks depending on where you want to put her in the display. We have the brand new X-Men 97 Wolverine over here, which I know a lot of people are using as their main comic Wolverine, and then we have a previous older comic Wolverine here. I think this is the Apocalypse Wave version, but there you go. Few options, and same thing for Cyclops here, a couple of different versions so you can see how she looks depending on who you have in your display. We've got the X-Men 97 Cyclops this side, and then the previous Jim Lee Cyclops over there. Here we have a couple of X-Men females with Lilandra and also a version of Psylocke. Can we get Psylocke on that new upgraded Black Widow body, please? We can? Oh, good, thank you. Next up, here we have Deadpool and Domino, and imagine for a second, if you will, that Wolfsbane was wearing pink. She had a different head, a slightly different shade of fur. That could absolutely work as Feral. Come on, Hasbro, we're waiting. And here we have the new Marvel Legends Black Widow and Punisher. Happy anniversary, by the way. What a great time to re-release an upgrade, don't you think? And let's wrap up with some of the Who crew. So here we have Frogman, Tigra, and Jocasta, who is reading out comments from the previous Marvel Legend review. Leave a comment on this video, and she may read yours on the next one. Who have you picked today?
Stony Holiday says, "This is my favorite version of Cable. Now bring on the X-Men 90s uniform cannonball."
And of course, last but never least, here we have Captain Britain and Hal Fire Hank. So, final thoughts on this Marvel Legends Zabu Build-A-Figure wave. Wolfsbane. Now, you know me, collecting is all about world building, completing teams, creating that plastic representation of the Marvel world that we love reading in the comics and watching those cartoons. And Wolfsbane was a gap in my collection that I'm very happy to fill in that X Factor team, as this is definitely my mind's eye for Wolfsbane. I know a lot of people would probably like a version of her in an early New Mutants uniform. So would I. I'd take that. I'd take a human form version of Wolfsbane as well. Interchangeable limbs would have been great. But for now, I'm happy to complete that second incarnation of the X Factor, as we have been waiting a while. So I'm very happy with this figure. My only little nitpick is I wish that they had continued that sort of wash that is on the calves throughout the rest of the figure to really bring out that sculpted fur detail, and it would have made her a little bit more darker and more accurate to the comic book page compared to the little bit orange that she is now. She's clearly been drinking her tango, and that's a UK reference that my American friends won't have a clue about. Anyway, as always, if you like Marvel Legends, then you are in the right place. Check out the videos tab, find the playlists, but most importantly, please, please, please hit that subscribe button, hit all of the notification bell, don't miss out on a video, and please hit that join button, become a channel member, either show some love or join the members club. Much, much appreciated. As always, you can find me in the flesh this year at MCM Comic Con in London from the 24th to the 26th of May. I'll be there with In-Demand Toys and Hasbro officially partnering up to show off some brand new Marvel Legends on display. These are going to be things like the 85th anniversary figures seen for the very first time. So come and join me, talk some toys, buy some toys, and check out some new Marvel Legends at In-Demand Toys booth at MCM Comic Con this May. As always, you can follow me on Instagram at It's Dan Who. I'm on Twitter at Dan Who Reviews. And I will, of course, see you on the next one.